When I was growing up, the same people that were saying,
You're so talented. You're so good at painting. You are so creative.
were the same people that were saying, have to find a real job, stop daydreaming. Being an artist is a hobby, not a real job. And that kind of sucked. For all of my life, I remember as a kid, as a teenager, as a young adult, I just kept feeling like I'm not accepted, I don't fit in, I cannot find my people, and no wonder I had this dream of moving to London. For my whole childhood, I was collecting postcards from London, I was watching videos from London, I would be so fascinated with people that were saying that they live there or they are from there. I would be obsessed with the British accent and British actors. I would watch English TV and I would be obsessed with just learning English and practicing it every chance I got. Even though in Greece we learned American English, that's a story for another day. But my whole life, I just kept feeling like I'm missing something and something that is really important to me, which was my creative side. I've always been creative. I've always thought creatively. I was always painting and drawing, and it definitely helped that my dad was a super talented artist as a hobby, because his generation was even more far behind in terms of creative jobs. So he taught me so many things about perspective and shadows and shapes. And he was self-taught and I was self-taught. And then when I was growing up and I started to think, what do I want to become when I grow up? What do I want to do as a job? As a kid, I kept saying I want to be an artist. And you know what I got as a response most of the times? Artists are dying poor. Art is not a job. You should be a teacher, a doctor, or a lawyer. I still remember at school when we had a job assessment, a career day, and that specific teacher asked all of us, I think it was high school, and they asked all of us individually, what do we want to do as a job? What do we want to be? And we had lots of different responses. Some people wanted to be teachers, some people wanted to be architects or whatever. And then when it came to me, I just said, I want to be an artist. At that point, I didn't know to what extent, I didn't know what I could do as an artist. I couldn't even imagine the options that I could have 10 years later, for example. So I said I want to be an artist, and I got responses from my classmates, and I still remember a response that said, are you going to be sitting next to a river and paint strangers? Are you going to also wear a beret? And that really felt strange. I was very disappointed that just people were not getting it. It just felt like their mind was so closed off in those specific professions that they were obviously very well known, like the doctors, teachers. At some point, I really wanted to be a teacher. I wouldn't mind becoming a teacher, but that's a different thing. I could be teaching art, but the non-acceptance and the kind of mental bullying and the dismissal from people just always stayed there for many years. And I had proof that I was actually very good at painting and drawing and having ideas and just using colors and using different materials. I had won first place in all the art painting competitions that I took part in. And I was awarded by the mayor of my city, and it was always there. Like, people knew that about me, and yet it was just not something that they could accept. But I don't really blame them, because society and because of the timing. Just randomly one day I took a t-shirt. It was actually for a gift, and I had this idea of painting directly on a t-shirt. No, actually it was a pillowcase. It was a pillowcase. After this pillowcase, I had the second idea of painting directly on a t-shirt. That led to 9 years of having my own fashion brand called Maya K, and I sold so many t-shirts and sweatshirts and hoodies, and I actually loved the fact that I was finally doing what I always thought I meant to do. But also people would, accept it and think that, yeah, this is a thing. It gave me this kind of push to finally chase my dream to move to London. Now we are in year 2016. I have had a really bad end of 2015 and start of 2016 because my mom had cancer and I eventually lost her at the start of 2016, and it just felt like the world is so unfair and anything can happen from one day to the other, even though this didn't happen from one day to the other. And I really wanted to make her and my dad proud, so I thought I'm gonna look for scholarships in London for fashion design. That's what I did. I applied for jobs, I applied for scholarships, I sent emails to so many people and universities, and in general I was just always online and I was always trying to make my dream happen. And one day I got this email from the scholarship that I applied for, one of the scholarships I applied for, and it was London College of Contemporary Arts, LCCA, and it was for a scholarship in fashion design. And one day, I think it was maybe May in 2016, I got the email that I was accepted for the scholarship to study fashion design in London. As soon as I started to read that email, I don't even remember reading the whole thing, just congratulations. I started crying and screaming. My dad thought that something bad happened, and then eventually he realized that I was crying because I was very happy and excited, though I would live in Greece and go to London to study. That scholarship never happened because when I was applying, my thought as a person that didn't research enough or didn't find the necessary information was that the scholarship would be for the duration of the studies, that this scholarship was paid. Unfortunately, the amount that was paid, I think, was just the first year, but I still had to find the money for the other 2 years, which was possible because I was not even living in London. I didn't have accommodation, I didn't know anyone in London, I didn't have a job in London, and I just felt really overwhelmed. I felt really sad about the fact that I was so close to making my dream come true that it felt like someone took it away from me as soon as I got it, as soon as I was holding it. And then in the next few days or weeks, I don't even remember, it's a bit of a blur, I just decided, you know what, I turned down the scholarship, that's fine, but what if I book a ticket with a return to go to London and go for, I think it was a week. I think my tickets were for a week. I would stay with a friend for that week and I would try and just get any job so that I can stay in London. And I went and applied to any store and any job I found. The funny thing was that even though I knew English for so many years and I could speak English from the start, cafes and restaurants were saying to me that because that basically were doubting that I can speak English good enough to work at their store and speak to their customers. And those stores that never gave me a chance, we never even had a conversation or an interview. So they were basing their decision and their thought on the fact that I had only arrived to London 2 days ago. Jokes on them, because I've gotten so many compliments over the 10 years I've been in the UK from British people, from American people, that my English is very good. And on my last day of the ticket, the previous night, I cried my eyes out because I felt like a failure. I could not get a job 6 days that I was a foreigner in London. Oh, insane how easily we think everything is our fault and that we don't deserve things and that we are a disappointment. I think even today, if this was happening, I would still think that way. And then the next morning, I got a call from a store I had applied that they wanted me to go for a trial on that day. And I honestly don't know how I had the guts to tell them, like, am I going to get the job? For sure, because if I come for a chance to get a job and I don't get it, today is my return flight and I need to go back home. I don't even know if I could afford to get a new ticket. And they told me, yes, the job is yours, but we still want you to come for a trial. And I went for a trial and I got this job. And to Lloyd's Bank, I opened an account. So I had a job, I had a bank account, I did my national insurance number, and I found a house that I could obviously share with people. And that's how I started living my dream. Now, I am not going to sugarcoat it. None of this was for the faint-hearted. None of this was easy, and none of this is still, to this day, after 10 years, easy. There have been easier points from the experience. There have been more difficult than the time I am experiencing at the moment, but I am so proud I never listened to those people and I proved them wrong, and I keep proving them wrong every single day. And I'm also making my parents proud every single day, and I hope they are happy with where I am, and I hope one day I can be with them again and tell them all about these years. For the first 2 to 3 years, I've worked odd jobs. I've worked in retail in many different stores, but my goal was eventually to get into the design industry. I never stopped applying for graphic design jobs. I never stopped applying for maybe fashion design or apprenticeships and part-time and volunteer and any opportunity that could be suitable for what I want to do and to be creative. And what I realized after 2.5 years that I was struggling to find a design job, as obviously a foreigner and fairly junior designer in such a saturated and competitive market in London, was that for me to see a change in my applications, I had to change something. So the pivotal moment was when I realized that when I go home depressed from my retail job, I should cry for a little bit and then wipe my tears and work on my portfolio, work on my skills, sleep less hours, and focus on my goal. And that's what I did for the next few months. I was coming home, I will never forget, I was coming home from my retail job. I would be so unmotivated from that and then I would snap out of it and I would work on passion projects, sending out emails, contacting people to see if they needed any design help, applying for jobs, and just working on my portfolio. And eventually what happened was I got my first ever paid freelance job from Instagram. I think at that point I had 112 followers. Not that I have too many now, and yet that business owner contacted me. We made an agreement, we exchanged a few emails at first, and I designed their logo. Later on, I designed their packaging for their Mexican food stall in London. I was ecstatic. I was so happy. I could not believe that this was actually happening and someone was paying me to do what I love to do. I was so proud of this design, and it was my first real project with a client, with an actual business, and it was paid. I had done in the past projects, but they were from friends of friends and family, and they were free or very low pay. But this was mine, this was my project. And I was so happy because because of this client, I could pay rent for the next month until I got my first design job. And if you liked this video, if you find it inspiring, if you have any common experiences, I would appreciate it if you stayed and subscribed to the channel. I got a job as an art worker at the print studio. I was so happy with it, even though the environment was misogynistic and not good. But I gained so much experience and so many skills, and I could put it in my CV finally. I could say I worked there for 10 months. This led me to my next role and my next role and some more freelance projects and my next role. And for the last 1.5 years, I have been completely freelancing, and I have loved every single moment of it, even though it is crazy. And 1 month you can have 3 massive projects that pay really well, and the next month you have dead silence and you are dying. But I still love being freelance. I'm obviously always open to getting a permanent role, and I'm still applying whenever I feel like a role could be the perfect fit for me and I could be the perfect fit for the brand. But sometimes when I think that I'm not good enough or the market is really horrible, like at the moment, the job market in the UK is horrible. There is so much competition and there is so much saturation, and it's just non-stop, and eventually as a creative it just makes you doubt your skills and makes you doubt your ability to do things and how good you are in what you're doing. What has helped me in moments that I feel like I'm not good enough, or if I get a rejection email, or if I don't get a project, is to think that, you know what, this is not personal. This is not because I'm not good enough at what I do, but it is timing. Recently, I was rejected for a role that I would have loved to be hired for, but they told me that they think I am not senior enough for this specific role. Yes, for a few hours I felt really bad because I really wanted to work with this company. But then I realized that they also said it. I am not senior enough for this role. That means that it's just a matter of timing. It's just when I applied, I was not exactly what they were looking for, and maybe they were not even enough for me at this specific moment. This can happen in 2 years' time where our timing is perfect and I join this company or another company and it's the perfect fit, or I find the perfect client, perfect project, and it just takes off. Or I take my YouTube channel seriously and I find all of you guys and we create an amazing community that we support each other, and maybe at some point it just takes off. You have no idea what is going to happen, but the thing you are in control of and the thing you can do is to not give up and to just focus on your deep goal. Remember what your goal is, not the now goal, but the later goal. That's what I have found that has helped me. I hope it will help you as well. But yeah, this is a short, long story of how I proved them wrong and how I moved to London and how I've been living in the UK for the last 10 years and how I managed to go from 0 projects in my portfolio to have worked with Revolution Beauty and Dr. Popo and have created brands and packaging design and have had a packaging design award that I keep forgetting. I got it last year, and it's just nothing is impossible. And whatever they tell you, whoever they is, just don't listen, because we don't do it for them. We do it for us. We do it for that little girl or boy that was growing up feeling that they don't fit and they are not accepted. This is the person we're doing it for that 5-year-old, 10-year-old, 15-year-old that was always feeling like an outsider. I would love to read your stories in the comments down below.